From the Diary of Bill Lowie, Tuesday, October 6th, 1964. Today, the 114th returned from an assault mission. Specialist Kelley, a crew chief and gunman on one of the lift ships, was hit by a bullet of about .30 caliber size. The bullet hit the aircraft from the rear, passed through 3 bulkheads, and lodged in Kelley's flak vest. His back looks as though he had been hit with a hammer. It was bruised but very little. The injury was very minor. This was Poppy's first entry into his diary, at least the first one that still exists, that he didn't lose or throw away. The diary itself is a 3-ring binder with an inscription on the cover which reads WOC Lowie 63-3W. My assumption is that he got the binder when he was in Warrant Officer Candidate School in 1963, learning to fly, and just brought it with him to Vietnam. Poppy was a part of the 114th Assault Helicopter Company, a unit often tasked with high-risk missions transporting troops into combat zones known as assault missions. In this case, the mention of Specialist Kelley, a crew chief and gunman, highlights the ever-present danger these soldiers faced. As indicated by most mass media depicting the conflict, helicopters were critical to the war effort in Vietnam, and as such, they were frequently targeted by enemy fire. The Huey has become one of the many unmistakable symbols of the war. If you're interested in learning about how tactics were developed to effectively use this technology, I suggest reading through the first few parts of Lieutenant General Harold G. Moore's famous book, We Were Soldiers Once, and Young. Though much of the book describes multiple perspectives of the Battle of the Ia Drang Valley, there's quite a bit about the 7th Cavalry Unit and how they transition into the Air Cav. Though it is not exactly what the 114th was doing, it might give you some insight into the strategies they developed to remain effective on the battlefield. The fact that Kelley was hit by a .30 caliber bullet demonstrates the constant threat crews were under, even during routine missions. Kelley's flak vest, designed to protect against shrapnel and bullets, likely saved his life. Though the impact was severe enough to leave a deep bruise, the vest prevented a potentially fatal injury. Ballistic armor similar to flak jackets have been used in every major U.S. conflict since the Civil War, but it wasn't until World War II that the armor was given its name, specifically by British Royal Air Force bomber crews who wore the jackets to protect against German anti-aircraft artillery shells. It is certain that a flak vest could not actually stop a .30 caliber rifle bullet on its own. However, one can speculate that since the bullet first passed through 3 bulkheads of the helicopter, it lost enough velocity for the flak vest to save Kelley's life. The language Bill uses in this entry, particularly the way he notes that the injury was very minor, underscores, even so early on, how these life-threatening situations became normalized for the soldiers. Even a bullet passing through an aircraft and hitting a crew member was considered just another part of their dangerous routine. It's a chilling reminder of the everyday risks these men faced. We'll eventually hear Poppy tell about his missions he flew transporting wounded soldiers and civilians, many of whom had much more heinous injuries than Kelley. Given that context, a, quote, very minor bruise may seem trivial. The aforementioned 114th Assault Helicopter Company named themselves the Knights of the Air and consisted of 4 flight platoons. Throughout the duration of the war, these included the White Knights, Red Knights, Cobras, and Lancers. Also, there was the Gold Knight, referred to as the commander, and the Blue Knights, which were considered the, quote, road service. The helicopter company was based in the Vinh Long Airfield, located in the Republic of South Vietnam from May 1963 to February 1972. After leaving the Republic of South Vietnam, the 114th Aviation Company was assigned to the Panama Canal Zone, but was ultimately deactivated. Poppy was a member of the Cobras. The logo for the platoon has left an indelible mark on my memory since I've seen it emblazoned on hats and silk pillowcases for my entire life. This designation, however, has made it difficult to find information about the platoon, since most often when people are talking about the Cobra helicopters in Vietnam, they are referring to the AH-1, an aircraft that is a member of the Huey family, possessing a designation which stands for Attack Helicopter 1. These are single-engine aircraft that seat 2 pilots. They are popularly depicted with large red mouths with white pointed teeth painted on their noses. The .30 caliber bullet that hit Kelley's flak jacket was a common caliber used by the Viet Cong and is likely an American designation for a 7.62 mm round. These were typically used in Chinese-built Mosin Nagants, which were based on the Russian versions of the rifle and functioned as sniper rifles, or by the AK-47. The photo I chose for today is the only one that I know for certain that depicts Kelley. You can tell it's him simply by his nameplate on the left side of his chest, which reads Kelley. He's the man on the left, standing with his hands on his hips, watching as another man loaded the M5 armament system. This likely held an M75 40mm grenade launcher and indicates the strong likelihood that this particular Huey pictured was used as a gunship and not for troop transport. I'm Alex Lowie, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie and receiving messages from the past that my poppy wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.